Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment in the Quickview series. Today, brought to you by courtesy of Team Revolt, who made an attempt to send in some Injora tires. Injora jumped in the middle of that and said, we're going to send you a completely different tire. Those tires are still hanging on a bag on the other side of the wall because the tire that was intended to be scented was the Swamp Claw, but not the regular Swamp Claw that we knew that we wanted to love, but it was molded in S3 compound. We wanted the S5 Swamp Claw. Injora was delightfully gracious about it, and they sent him out again. So we just had to wait another, 2.5 weeks for those to show up, and here they are. I am looking forward to this because I made one of my appeals to the heavens around the time. We had already tested King Trekker, what's the other claw? King Trekker, Swamp Claw, and the other Kraken Claw. And I was like, the only thing that's really holding these tires back is the compound that they're molded in, because it's not... Compound, as J Concepts has shown us, is like 80% of the equation. You can get away with virtually any tread. The tread makes up the last little bit of it. Like how much performance you're going to get. Like there's what I call the crawler problem. There's what I call the swamper problem. Different treads are going to give you different issues. The compound can make up for a lot. We here really wanted to like the Swamp Claw. I really wanted to, and I did like it. I like the look of it. It's a good looking tire. It certainly looks better than the XHX pin, than the comp pin. I would argue that it looks better than the King Trekker, but in S3 compound, it was underwhelming at best. So here it is in S5, and it would appear that on some small level, the stars have aligned, because let's call it 24 hours removed from the time of this recording. It was about 20 degrees hotter outside. I arose this morning to find that it is actually quite cold outside. It is, by the time we are on the rocks, by the time this is all put together, we will be deep in the heart of predator weather. And for those unaware, basically, Injora's S5 compound is their Predator. Predator, for those not aware, is a compound that is most capable below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So when it gets hot, particularly, I would say the cutoff is into the 80s. Once you get up to about 85 degrees, Predator begins to, and this is not a pun or an analogy, it begins to fall off pretty quickly. The traction, the tire starts to act greasy. And one of the drawbacks of the S5 pin relative to the S4 pin, think of the S4, I would put the S4 somewhere in between like G8 and green. It's not quite a green, but the only tire that we've gotten in S4 that I know of is the comp pin. So if you take a pin in a compound that isn't quite right, it's still a pin. So you're still going to get the performance of a pin. I lost the sizer here for a moment. This is the thing I usually forget to do. Pretty big, 121, which is dead 4.75. So some proper truth in advertising there. And in true Injora fashion, a little narrow, 42 millimeters wide, which I bumped it. 42 millimeters wide, an inch and 5/8. What do they claim? 1.65. 5/8 is 1.625. So again, truth in advertising reigns supreme when it comes to Injora. You will have noticed, and I did not allude to it, the foam being installed is the included foam. I have found that with few exceptions, Injora does a really good job of pairing the included insert, the included stock foam, with the tire that they provide you. So we're going to run it on that foam because I honestly, the thumb test, the bench test, that level of foam feels pretty much about right for where we are in that, like, call it a 6-pound range, which, is smart. Gear your foam that you're going to include, not to be used just as, this is something to maintain the shape of the tire for shipping, because there are a lot of companies that don't do it. Extreme Route gives you a tire with no insert in it, and that allows them to basically like shrink pack them down. So the hold the tire in shape for shipping thing doesn't hold water for me. I don't know why most companies include the tires that they do. Those tires tend to be inferior. I gotta get the battery in them before I put his body air on them. So it's not that hard to include call it a general purpose foam, right? Injora is better than that, better at that than most. I would put J Concepts a close second, particularly if you get into any tire that's kind of on that banned list. Ruptures are absolutely fine on their stock foam. Tusks are fine. And beyond that, if we're digging back in the crates to the S3 days with the Swamp Claw and the King Tricker, those tires really only liked the stock foam and were not dramatically improved by silicones, by any other sort of insert. The pins have been a bit receptive, but I'm hoping that these will shine as their stablemates do on the included foam, because a big part of the reason we're buying tires like this, that we're not just going out and shelling out for the big brands. We're not spending on Proline. J Concepts has to be included in that conversation. KLR, OT6, and on and on, even Hot Bodies, and on and on and on, is because generally tires like these are going to go for about $27 a set, which is they come all in one bag, a set of 4. And if you can get 4 tires with functional inserts for $27, that's a win, because you've now spent, Proline tires are $33 a pair, and the foams that are included with them range from to so, right? If these are functional, and they absolutely feel that they will be, we might, because that sidewall's so high, we might lose a little bit of side stuff. But other than that, like, this should maximize the forward traction. The weight, the weather, all of the things should combine together to form like Voltron. We should get a good result. I'm hoping for good things from the S5 Swamp Claw. I hope for good things from every tire. But let's be honest about it. That's not how things work. Everything is not awesome. But as per always, the rocks will determine. We will take this out. We will run through the 10 steps of the Class 2 tire testing protocol. We will get a number. The number will go on the thing. We will rinse. We will repeat. We will do it again. So, meet me outside to find out, is the tread that extra percent to bring the S5 compound to, like, is the S5 as good as it could be? So as with, I dropped the card. As with most every Quickview that we do on a tire, what we do is we prepare for the worst and we hope for the best. S5 should absolutely do the things. The Swamp Claw should absolutely do the things. Oh, it was real promise. There we go. Okay. We are going to have to give it a moment. The foam and the tire have to get to a point where they start to agree with each other. I want to see, certainly, out of a compound this, what I would call aggressive, I want to see more stuff. Okay, we're very nearly there. Woo! It's got a pretty... I'm kind of trying to watch the fold over on that front. Yeah, the real lower speed stuff, it kind of shines a little more. Again, 42 millimeters is about the functional minimum for width. That's pretty good. Now, single stage open cell is going to maximize forward drive, and it... on straight rock, we gotta give it a little bit of leeway. Its name is the Swamp Claw, so this is a little more, I would assume, trending towards a mixed surface tire than it is a pure rock crawling tire. It's doing as, how would I phrase this? It's kind of doing as well as expected, but not quite as well as I would have hoped. Okay, now, all right, that was better. That was up a little bit there. I need to do 2 cuts here. I need to cut back this way. I want to see here. Give us the prelim of wet. Okay, nice. We want to see a cruise cut right here. For a single stage, yeah, I'm sure caster flips. We got a lot of steering angle here, but the front is tidy through the corners. Okay, that looks pretty good on the fixed throttle input. There's a little bit of, I don't know, it kind of, there's something kind of abrupt. There's something a little abrupt. The steering will just kind of go, hello, and then it goes, hello, like you're okay, and that could be the foam in the front end acting a little soft. Overall, not bad. So Slick Rock is basically all forward drive stuff. There's a bit of positionability and a mix of forward drive here. That was bound. That's still bound. Nice. Give me repositionability and I will take it. That is unquestionably better than what we saw over at Slick Rock. That was much, much, much better. That is what I had hoped for. You know, we try not to get the hopes too high. Yeah, get there and then back. Oh, very good. Very good. Little micro hesitations, not surprising. The Swamp Claw is I would say more gap than lug. There's a bit more open space than there is lug there. You gotta remember, you gotta work with the narrowness. Don't let it work against you. See those it did a little side shimmy, which I don't know. I don't know if that's promising or not. That might mean that this tire is a little more receptive to differences in insert. But I want to see it again. Come back wide. Deal with the narrowness. Yeah. It's a little fine. There's a little more edge to it. The Swamp Claw pattern and the S5 are at least cooperating, and in terms of the insert is doing solidly okay. Out here at 3, moving to the side hill, if there's a place where this is going to falter, it's going to be here. That is, we're talking. What's up, bird? We're talking about a full 475 on the scale, narrow, single stage. So that's a tall sidewall. It's going to want to fold. So that fold, what are we looking for? We're looking to see how well they mated compound to construction. It's falling out a little. It's not bad. That's not bad at all. Is that gonna overpress? Little bit. The driver rear, which is fully loaded right now, is really kind of smearing out. Up, 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 up. Oh, that's real good. That's real good. For a single stage, that's proper nice. Because we're prioritizing forward drive here. And I don't know. Swamp Claw kind of in the middle. Do I feel like there's an opportunity that you could go with an insert? Like, I'm basically thinking of a dual stage. On a dual stage, you're going to sacrifice some forward drive. You're gonna lend that capability to other aspects of the tire. Do we have enough pure forward drive to give up some of that forward drive in exchange for stability that would be handy here, for that lateral stability? These, it just has to be the foam settling in the tire, because these are getting better. These are getting inarguably better. I thought for sure that was going to be first approach. That I was going to come in too tight and roll it out. Now I'll press it a little lower. Come in right there. Little up counter steer. Okay, now I'll try going in a little higher. It's a little more difficult coming in higher. That's a good reposition. There it is. There it is. Yeah. We can get to the limitation of the singles. Okay, I need to phrase this accurately and appropriately. What you want is you want the insert to run out of the ability to hold before you run out of grip. That means that we're doing okay. So, single stage is still going to get a good score for the side hill because it is very manipulable. It is just doing what it does. It is prioritizing forward drive, and we definitely sacrifice a little bit. And I think these probably have enough grip to pull this. Do we have a straight pull in you? Yes, we do. That's what I like to see. I think the S5 will feather in reasonably quickly, and I think once we get a little bit of feather on that leading edge, I think they're really going to start to show themselves. Fresh out of the bag. Oh, and that, did you see a lift? There was no detectable lift there. That was a solid descent on a single stage, because usually what's going to happen is that front, all that weight's going to transfer. It's going to over crush that one in the front. You know, everything is a give and take. You're giving to get. So we're sacrificing a bit of downhill stability for uphill ability, but not here. Oh, that's real close. There's the hop. That's a good tractional hop. That hop you can dial in and out via insert. You're going to have a bit more energy return out of this. So we get a little, yep. And these have a good amount of chevron on them, so I think they're going to bump well. That's solid on the bump. Very nice. A little spinny, a little spinny. Don't fall back. I just don't want to see a fall back. And a little, get that axle over and down. Yeah. The manipulability is, I love a tire that is above anything else cooperative. It doesn't have to have crazy maximum forward drive. Give me a tire that is consistent, and like that tire was up so high, consistent and manageable. And even the single stage is not taking away from the steering angle. These are turning tight. I can't say they're growing on me because I liked the S3 Swamp Claw, but these are starting to live up to the expectation. So this is where positionability is really going to become key. Got to get up and over. Yeah, real nice, real nice. Right here, we need that side lug edge to pull through there. I don't want to see hesitation right there. And you know what I didn't see? Hesitation. Because we can turn so tight, we should be able to swing the pirouette here without getting hung up. Yeah, it's just so... There's a real, like, I'm falling into the groove of these pretty fast. You can genuinely aim it and find the line. They kind of don't go out on their own. They don't stray. They do get a little weird. I need a little bit right there. Yeah, I like that. I like knowing where you want to go, and the tire delightfully, deliciously granting you the ability, the capacity to do it. That speaks volumes more than my compound is super sticky and I was designed on a computer. Like, these are pretty great. And CBA is always ooh, yeah, nice. CBA is always lurking there in the background, you know.
in that cost-benefit analysis, this is the tire unmodified as it came out of the bag, which was fairly stinky. Not Proline stinky, but fairly stinky. Inserts work, tires work. I punched 2 holes in each tire and I mounted them. End of. We're doing really well. I don't know if it looked like it to any of you, but I've done a couple of these, and that was the most solid performance that the S5 Swamp Claw has put in so far. It is, and a tire that begins its protocol on a and just keeps getting better, that is a very good place to be. So the amount of forward drive that we're receiving and that high level of manipulatability, we shouldn't have problems here at Daphne's Third. In fact, that stayed pretty tight cut to the left for the normal side. We'll see soft side. This is where we're looking at tire deformation. If the tire over deforms, it's gonna shoot us left of frame. And it does not. That's really good. Okay, remember when I said Oblivion was the best? That's a tie. That's a tie. We're gonna get a hot number out of this tire. We're gonna get a hot number. Can you do a class 3 straight cut? Can an XF belly clear it? Using that 475, using all of it. That's very nice. Tidy. Okay, up here dead limit. I'm gonna check bumps. Oh yeah, there's a lot of drive in this. There's a lot of drive in this tire. Want to see here? Give a little bit of attitude. Right up. Okay. Try to get a little bit of donkey in though. Yes. Because that's a lot of energy return. Now, that amount of energy return is forgivable because the amount of bump we actually need, it's a little juicy on the bump. Yeah, it's a little poppy on the bump. Now, the bump is fairly predictable. Not surprisingly, the tire is certainly manipulable. There you go. We're talking, this is a 25% bump region. Yeah, it stays tidy. Is its bump as good as its ability to drive? No. Solid. Always remember, Fusion 1200 set to 50% reverse. If you have 100% reverse, if you're outrunnered, your ability to self-right is always going to be higher because every tire out there, I cannot think, if I could think, if there was a tire that would self-right equally well, whether it being the turn to the sky and reverse or turn to the ground and forward throttle, I would remember it. Say, this is, right? Bump, bump, hit something to impede motion and you're back over. Some tires won't self-right in the forward direction at all. Ooh, that was solid. I need to see one more out of you. That turning circle is so tight. That has to be claw related. Boom. Yeah, 42 millimeter will flop you like that. Oh yeah, buddy. You got it. It's the snap. You start to apply the throttle. You give it the throttle, and right as you're kind of so not just a punch, it's kind of a roll, like a mid, and then you whoop. So imagine you're bumping, but on your side. So you give it a little bit of throttle, and right as you're gonna transition from that initial throttle to full throttle, you point the wheels at the ground. Bam, just snaps you up. It needs that little bit of motion first. Self-right. Very, very good. 2 to go. 2 to go. Oh, it is ubiquitous. It is what we do. We just need surface transition to wet. That's all we need. So much in the vein of the Fling King, we have a tread pattern that I don't think is purely rock oriented unless to you swamp means rock. So surface transition it should do pretty well at. The only drawback would be that, you know, the narrow tire is not necessarily the tire for soft environs, although it might clear mud better than a wide one. If if you put some RPM to it. We should have, like, if we do the whip, yeah. Yeah, that's, okay, all right. My expectations were, see if you can knock that out of the way, bud. Roll it down the hill. My expectations coming into the surface transition were moderated because 42 millimeters wide. But it uses all of that height, and if you get it in that counterback, oh, that's actually really good. That's actually really good. The S5 is doing well here for a number of reasons. One, that lug is cooperative. The tire is manipulable. The foam is pretty darn well matched to the tire. And because you've got that big chunky lug, and it's important, I need to drive this home. We have a big chunky lug. We have a pretty soft, sticky compound, but there's no TOO. It is not too soft, nor is it too sticky. Vanquish Red in the hand is softer and stickier than this. So is I can't remember what Otsix calls their softest. Is it gold? Whatever Otsix, red? Whatever Otsix calls their softest one, it kind of suffers a little bit of the same thing, where it's so soft that the soft comes around to not being valuable. Honestly, here is a real hot take before we get down over onto wet. The Swamp Claw in S5 is a more consistent performer than the XHX pin in S5. I think that the compound is a little bit too soft for how small those XHX pins are. I find the S4 pin to be more versatile because it has that bigger, longer pin and a compound that's a little bit firmer. They should have made the XHX pin in S4. Then it would be more versatile temperature-wise, and also I think that little lug, it needs a compound that's a little bit firmer. If you're too soft and you have a tiny soft pin, the pin just deflects, it moves out of the way. So these are big chonky lugs, and that big chonky lug is genuinely better suited to how soft the compound is. Will that pull? Okay, we get here, and now we're on the XF. But I'm trying to get that front edge, and I think I can do like a 180 move. 42 millimeters, don't hold me down. Getting that dirt cleared off the top, but we're also digging a hole. Can we bump it? Oh, can we bump it? It just can't, it just doesn't quite have it. A lot of that is XF. This is a fun tire. This might be. I mean, I have to take into consideration that drawback that it is S5 compound. As the sun gets higher and the day gets longer and we move closer to the warm part of the year, that S5 is not going to be useful all the time. So I don't think, based on that, the Swamp Claw can unseat the S4 comp pin as the top Injora tire. Scores notwithstanding. That's an X factor. There's no score for that. We can't add or subtract a numeric value because a tire falls off above or below a certain temperature, right? That's in the anomalous void that is versatility. So, but I'm going to put this, before we get a final score, before we get to wet, I'm putting the S5 Swamp Claw right below the S4 comp pin. The S4, and also because someone could say, oh, well, I don't care about the temperature. It's cool here. And also, I think the S5 Swamp Claw looks like a tire, and the S4 comp pin looks like an abomination. And you know what? I don't think that I could really put up a strong argument against that statement. So forward drive definitely started to pep up. As like, okay, remember how far the shuttle was before? Okay, let me do it a little better. We come in here, we get that cut. I'm trying to pull right in between those two rocks right there. It doesn't have peak forward drive. But what it does have is this ability to, like, You get to take your line. And for me, that's more of those points that don't exist, points that we can't quantify. That's more of those points we can't quantify than anything else. Because some tires will just bully you around. They want to go, that's way better than the first time I hit it. They want to go where they want to go. And if you have different plans, they are often not receptive to those plans. So there we have a little bit of water down. And I have, like, if there's a point where I have a reasonably high expectation, it's here. Injora have done well in wet. Get the belly clear. Oh, you want to go straight to the hard side? Sure. Oh, yeah. That's, honestly, we go around a couple more times, but that's all I needed to see. I needed to see that rear tire across the black and white rock there. Just pull that face up. Yeah, it's all mechanical. I did not experience what I determined to be any lack of grip due to compound or composition. We'll wet them up a little. Now, it will be interesting in the future to see these on a silicone, because the silicones will fit perfectly. Yeah, see, if we keep the mechanicals out, it's just got it. And now that they're a little more wetted over, it kind of elevates the performance up the rock, because now we have clean rock. And some tires do extraordinarily well on clean rock, but as soon as that clean rock gets wet, no, these are, let's see, we'll do that pull again. See, that's XF sliding. So I need to pull it back this way if it'll let me. Oh, little bit. Got a little wide. Oh, you really can aim this tire and it's not point and shoot. You can aim the tire and be rewarded, because it's like, yeah, okay, we'll go there. And right about there. That's a nice wonky angle. So there you have it. There was a little tweak and tune there at the end. We moved a tenth here. We took a tenth away there. And we ended at a nice, even 97.0. 97.0 is fairly rarefied air. That's up into, like, you're into tusk territory. Now, do I think that this tire is, at the end of the day, as versatile as a tusk? I do not. Do I think that the tusk is justifiable in its price point relative to a Swamp Claw? I also do. The tusk, for me, is not the benchmark. It is the upper point to be desired. It's where you want to get, because that tire will work on virtually anything. It is so versatile, and it's green. Is S5 as good as green? Not quite. I would put it, I have long said that Proline needs a compound between G8 and Predator, and that compound exists, and unfortunately, that compound is called J Concepts Green. It's made by a different company. With S5, which has its Predator-ness to it, it kind of truly is the blend of G8 and Predator, because it has that temperature restriction of Predator, all of those good stuffs about Predator, but it doesn't, like, the temperature where it falls off isn't quite as low as Predator's. You can get up into the mid 80s. Once you're up around 80, Predator is already starting to get greasy. By about 85, if rock temperature is up around 85, these will start to get a little greasy. Here being in the 50s, it is near perfect. It's S5 weather as much as it's Predator weather. This, to me, is kind of more in the vein of the imaginary compound and not imaginary. If we were drawing out a timeline, I would put S5 between G8 and Predator. Not quite the sheer forward grip of Predator compound tires, but a bit more of the versatility. And in those tangible intangibles, Injora did really, really well here with the S5 Swamp Claw, in that the construction agrees with the compound and the foam agrees with the construction. And when you put those things together, you have a very solid package in a vehicle that's in right about 6 pounds. So baseline is probably in the like butter zone for the S5 out of the bag. If you get heavier, I would definitely say go to either a dual stage or most likely Injora's Silicone Blue, which are again also cheap. By the time you buy a set of S5 Swamp Claws and a set of blue silicones, you're still cheaper than just buying 4 competitor tires from someone else. And then you also have to source inserts usually. There are a couple instances where you don't, but for the most part, we're generally presented with tires where when you buy the tire, you just go, oh, well, now I have to budget in inserts as well. S5 Swamp Claw with a 97, and that is a score that which truly, genuinely could go multiple points in either direction. I could see this tire doing even better, or you scoring it intangibly higher because it just looks that much better than a comp pin. Or you might be like, they're too skinny, they don't work on my rig because my rig weighs 13 pounds. Yeah, no tire is the best tire for everything. The closest tire that gets there is the Tusk, in large part because you can get the Tusk in 393, 419, 475, 525, 579. If you have an application, there's quite likely a Tusk for it. There's your Swamp Claw. If you have the S3s, dispose of them responsibly and replace them with the S5s. Even if you live someplace where it gets hot, just don't run them in July, you know. No tire is the best at everything. Some are striving to get there. Others are just doing really well for what they are. I'm a fan of the S5 Swamp Claw, and if it were not for the fact that I lived in the desert, I would have a vehicle that they would go on full time. But instead, they're probably going to have to be a rotational tire that goes in seasonally. And that's not terrible. These tires did really well. They did more importantly, they did as well as I hoped. And that is a solidly tangible intangible. You know what else is tangible? My thanks to you for joining us here in the canyon, for sticking through, for watching the tire test protocols, just for hanging out in the canyon. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and in between now and when we meet again, I do indeed hope that you one and all do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We'll see you again here from the canyon with whatever shenanigans we think up on that day. Let's see if I can knock that marker off on the way out. I bumped the radio and turned it off. I was like, did baseline die? Yeah, there you go, buddy. There you go, buddy. Get it out of there. We will see you next time here from the canyon. S5 Swamp Claw. In terms of number, I think it's the best one they've done. I don't remember. But I would still say pure performance, it's still the comp pen because it works year round. Injora, I'm talking to the sky. We need more S4 tires too.